Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Karen Ross and I'm an encaustic and mixed media artist. I work out of my home studio in Deerfield, Illinois, and for years my artistic home has been in the world of encaustic painting. And in this video, I'll walk you through my personal journey and the fascinating process of working with this ancient medium called encaustic painting. So what is encaustic painting? Well, that's a great question, and it's one that I get asked quite regularly when I tell people about the art that I do. Encaustic painting is spelled Encaustic, and the word encaustic comes from the Greek word enkaustikos, which means to burn in. And that's literally what you're doing with encaustic, is that you're burning molten wax that is pigmented with colors, and it has a little bit of damar resin in it, which comes from a tree sap. And that combination creates encaustic painting, or the actual paint medium. And when you paint with molten wax, you have to paint on a substrate that can take the weight of the wax. And so my preferred substrate is to paint on wood because the wax soaks into the wood and it doesn't let it sag as it would if you were to put a bunch of wax on top of canvas. So wood is a wonderful substrate for encaustic. And when you paint with the wax on the wood, you will need to fuse every layer of wax to the layer beneath it. So how do you fuse it? You use a heat source, and many heat sources have been used in the history of encaustic, anywhere from lamps to fire to heat guns to blowtorches. And I'm excited to say that I graduated to a blowtorch a few years back, and this gives me wonderful coverage, and I'm able to accomplish a lot in a shorter time than when I used a heat gun. But once in a while, a heat gun is a great tool as well. So that is, in a nutshell, what encaustic painting is. And the result of using this medium in this way creates the most vibrant, luminous, textured, and layered piece of art that I have ever been able to work with. So it really still excites me today, after all these years of painting with encaustic, to see what this endless medium can do. So I'm often asked, how did I discover this unique medium? That's a really fun question to answer. I discovered encaustic painting on YouTube, or as I like to call it, Life University. I was painting with acrylic paints and really struggling to get the texture and vibrancy and excitement that I longed for. And I was going on YouTube to look at other artists painting, and I love to watch people paint. So I watch abstract artists. And while I was on YouTube, there were suggested videos in the box on the right, and one of them said encaustic painting. And I had heard the word encaustic, but I didn't know exactly what that was. So I decided to click on it. This was around 2008. And I would say the moment that I clicked on the video about encaustic painting and saw the process and learned what it does, it was love at first sight. And my first thought was, what do I need and when can I start? And I immediately went and got all the supplies I could find, which were not that easy to find. I had to order some things online, and I found what I needed, and I started experimenting in my previous home in a small home studio. And I was missing one very important element that you need to have when you do this medium. I was missing ventilation. So it's really important you have excellent ventilation. A ventilation system is ideal, or at least a fan blowing, windows opened. And I didn't have that. So I quickly figured out that that was not a healthy option for me to paint in my home studio at the time. So I moved the operation to the garage, and I had the garage doors open, and that went really well until winter came. And then it got really cold. And I was also blowing out all my electrical because I had so many griddles going with my pots of encaustic wax burning. So I needed to come up with a different plan. I went and got additional electric reinforcement so that I could keep my studio going, but I ended up having to only paint during warmer months. So it wasn't until my second husband and I built a home together that we were able to make a fully outfitted studio with a ventilation system in order for me to paint year round, which has been such a blessing. So when I first started painting with the encaustic medium, it was all experimentation. So I would go to Home Depot and pick up these 4-inch scrap pieces of wood, and I would just do experiments. And here's an experiment with me adding some glass pieces embedded into the wax. And here's another piece where I did image transfer and incising and doing all kinds of different techniques that I was studying and learning as I was going along. Here I went a little bit bigger, and there's some collage elements in here and some incising and just playing around and figuring out what kind of cool things I can do. Here was another experiment that I did. And I mean, you can see how primitive and simple these were, but these were the tools. These little squares are what got me to the point of doing 4-foot by 5-foot paintings and really learning how it doesn't end. You can just keep learning and learning and learning. And I think that's true for every art form. So here's a really quick walkthrough of what my paint palettes look like on their griddles on my ventilation system, which you can see up here. And that's like a typical range hood that you would put over your stove. And you can see that these are all my different colors. And you never have to clean your brushes. They just cool off right into their respective pots. And this is what I use to paint all the paintings. Let's go see how it's done. Here's a quick little demo on a pre-painted wax on wood. I've already put a clear coat as the first layer. There's tape around the edges to protect them. And we've started with the purple color, and I can just show you what that looks like. I have some molten wax here and a broken paintbrush, which never stopped me. And you take your molten medium, as you see it's very liquid, and you can take that and you can paint that across the surface, and you see, oh, there's a hair that escaped, but you see that it's drying as soon as it's hitting the substrate. So once you paint every layer, you need to fuse it with a blowtorch. So this is what fusing looks like. And you can see how once fused, that layer goes right into the wax that was on the layer before it. And then you want to give it some time to cool and continue doing more layers or different techniques or processes. Well, I hope this gave you a peek into my world of encaustic, And each piece is a journey. It's a conversation between me and the wax. And sometimes the wax is in charge and it tells me what to do. And there are a lot of happy accidents and unique outcomes. And I'm loving every moment of it. And I want to thank you for joining me. And I'm sure you have plenty of questions, which I'm happy to answer. Feel free to ask or reach out. And I'd love to tell you more about my passion for Encaustic. Thank you.